Welcome to the Geek Homeworld. I am your host, Ed, aka Savage Tech Man. We talk sci-fi, TV, movies, superheroes, and all from a geek perspective. You can find us on Blogger, Google+, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. We're everywhere. Join the Geek Homeworld. Hello everyone, and welcome to an episode, and this is also a video episode. If you're listening on audio, we've also got video here of the Geek Homeworld podcast. I'm your host, Ed Ciucevich, and I have a special guest joining me today, Andre L. Johnson. Welcome, Andre.
Thanks so much, Ed. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, Andre's here. Well, because he's a great guy, and he's a geek, and he's been a cosplayer, and we're here talking on this episode about Chadwick Boseman. I know everybody's got to say their piece about it. I want to just say, personally, like the rest of the world, I'm completely devastated by the news. And please chime in, Andre, however you feel about it. I didn't even have words. My first post about it on Facebook was, I have no words. And for me, that's saying something. We know, firstly, just want to read, which everybody's heard this, but this was now the most tweeted tweet in history of Twitter, from Chadwick Boseman's official Twitter account, and it says, "It is with immeasurable grief that we confirm the passing of Chadwick Boseman. Chadwick was diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer in 2016 and battled it these last 4 years as it progressed to stage 4. A true fighter, Chadwick persevered. A true fighter, Chadwick persevered. It's hard to get through this. I'm sorry. A true fighter, Chadwick persevered through it all and brought you many of the films you have come to love so much. From Marshall to The Five Bloods, August Wilson's, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, and several more. All were filmed during and between countless surgeries and chemotherapy. It was the honor of his career to bring King T'Challa to life in Black Panther. He died in his home with his wife and family by his side. The family thanks you for your love and prayers and asks that you continue to respect their privacy during this difficult time." And the respect I have for him as an actor is one thing. But as a human being, to film and looking at it, there's 11 films since 2016 that Chadwick Boseman starred in. And he was battling stage 3, which became stage 4, colon cancer, taking chemotherapy. No one knew. The head of Marvel, Kevin Feige, he knew, and probably a very close-knit group of people knew. We talked before recording whether his family, not his family, of course his family knew, but his Black Panther family, if they knew, or any of the Marvel people. But the respect that I have for him is levels even higher because of his perseverance. And this is a young man, 43, is that right, Andre? He was 43 years old, which is incredibly young, who was just, I feel, and I think you agree, hitting the stride of some great filmmaking. And for geeks like us, it's especially hard because he played Black Panther, the brilliant, legendary, iconic Stan Lee created this character of Black Panther in the 60s during a lot of racial turmoil, which seems like 2020 has turned into the 60s again. I feel like we're going through some of the same problems, but I feel personally this time we're finally going to make that progress, and this generation coming up is really going to hopefully help us get to that level that we should have been at so long ago. And it was so visionary of Stan Lee to create this character, and Chadwick Boseman brought King T'Challa to life, and he did it with such a regal manner about himself, with such sophistication and such determination. Now, I'm not going to sit here on this video and tell you that Black Panther is my favorite Marvel film of the MCU. It's not. I would probably go with Infinity War, just because there's so much going on. Endgame's very close to that. It's hard to say. Thor Ragnarok was really great. You know, Iron Man, it all started with that. But I did enjoy Black Panther. But more than that film, more than the story of the film, the phenomenon that it became and what it meant and what it still means to the African American community is immeasurable. And it's just amazing from a geek perspective that he did Captain America Civil War, Black Panther, Infinity War, Endgame. Those were just those were the geek related ones. I mean, we're talking, if we go back to 2016, Gods of Egypt, then we have Captain America Civil War, Message from the King, Marshall, about Thurgood Marshall, brilliant film, Black Panther, Avengers Infinity War, Avengers Endgame, 21 Bridges, which he did with the Russo brothers, The Five Bloods, which is on Netflix, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, which they, I think, just announced they're going to delay.
They're going to delay it.
It's completed. And then they were doing pre-production on Yasaku. And we're going to talk a little bit about those in a little bit detail. But Andre, what are your thoughts? I mean, this hits you probably like a ton, like a mountain.
I found out, so I guess it was announced officially late at night, about going on 2 days ago. I guess it was the 28th, going on 29th. I was actually right here as I was doing some edits, and all of a sudden my phone all at once goes ding 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 ding. I'm thinking, what's going on? But people weren't saying anything. They're listening like sad faces, broken hearts. I guess people assume I knew already. And I texted one of my friends. I was like, what's going on? What's happening? He said, Andre. He was like, Chadwick Boseman died. And I sat there and I stared at his text message. I stared at it. Mm-hmm. And I felt like we were having a Kobe moment all over again. Yeah. And I was like,
oh God, not of COVID, no.
yeah, exactly. And I thought, it was a COVID related. I'm thinking an accident, a COVID. I'm rushing. Of course, you got to Google search it to confirm it and whatnot. And of course, TMZ, Fox, Variety Magazine, all these guys.
I thought it was a joke at first, a cruel joke.
Me too.
It's like, this is not possible.
Yeah, I was like, this can't be it. And I looked, and it was confirmed. And the main word that I think everyone felt was an extreme hurt. I was extremely hurt. Mm-hmm. And it was a weird feeling because it's like I didn't know him personally, but do I even have the right to feel as bad as I do? Because I didn't know him on a personal level, and I had watched 42, and I had watched Get On Up with James Brown, and
great
for me it was a hurt for two reasons. Because one, he was an acting peer. I'm an actor. I'm a black actor. I'm 30 years old, and he was 43. So like. Everyone looks to Denzel. Denzel's up there, right? Fairly few people talk about people in between. The people are coming up. So you're here, and Denzel's at the top. Right. There's always somebody in the middle who's always grinding, who's always trying to make room for you and expound different things. Especially because he had made it very known that he did not, as a black male actor, he did not want to be a stereotype. and that he said that he turned down a lot of roles, so it would make a room for the things that he wanted to do. And so to have somebody who, number one, was black, male, young, just like you, and on top of that, no one knew he was sick. No one knew this. This was kept a secret.
In this age, 2020 and social media, you can't breathe without someone knowing it. And 10 people having different opinions about whether you breathed or not, how you breathed, and whatever else. So yeah, that just shows the classiness of his inner circle.
Yeah, and like you said before, Ed, you said this before we started this conversation, that he was visiting children,
yes,
who had cancer while he was going through chemotherapy. He never once ever brought it up.
And that video where he breaks down talking about it, he could have easily said, the reason this affects me so is that I have stage 3 cancer. The world would have been stunned. And I've seen something online that said, he didn't want that to become the narrative. So can you imagine Black Panther has colon 3 cancer? Can you imagine that? That would have kind of taken away, and that was his personal choice. Whether actors they're human beings. They don't owe us a thing. Okay, right. They put their hearts, their souls into their creative endeavors, and for him to hold that so close to his chest, and those people were truly people that loved him because they kept that secret, and they respected his wishes. And we live in a time where we don't respect a lot of things. We don't respect, people like we ought to. We don't treat people like we ought to all the time. And it's just amazing that he could keep this under wraps. TMZ, none of these people got a hold of it, of his diagnosis. And even when that video, the one where, and help me out with this, but the one where he was talking and people, was that this year where he looked really gaunt?
It might have been like 2-3 months ago. Right. So maybe March.
And I saw it like everybody else. And I'm like, he's preparing for a role, apparently. He's like De Niro. He's one of these character actors. He's getting into shape, by losing all his weight. And he said nothing. And that's amazing.
Yeah, because like we said, people had already come out and said, oh, he's on drugs, or that he had COVID. People automatically were just like, and they were saying it like, most people weren't saying it as if they were concerned. They were trying to troll and make fun of him.
If this were the 80s or 90s, people might have easily said in that time, if this had happened then, oh, he's contracted AIDS, which could have led to other conversations. People could have said something like that. And, but it's amazing how he held it together. And you can look at all those films even now and not tell that this man was sick and doing chemotherapy. I mean, I do not know where he got the strength each day to get up and go to work.
I think an important thing, like I told you about that post someone put up, and someone said that in 4 years, Chadwick Boseman's close circle never said anything, which means he had a very strong circle of people that kept him grounded, who kept him supported, that kept him moving, that kept him on the up and up. I can imagine going through stage 3 cancer by yourself. Like I said, I've never had cancer. And you see from my shirt, this is supporting breast cancer. But I can imagine having cancer. My aunts had breast cancer and beating it. And I've had some relatives who've beaten cancer, some who didn't. And I can imagine actively working, like literally back to back to back to back, working on projects, having to go to premieres, visit children, do Jimmy Fallon shows, do podcasts, do all these different things, try to find some personal time for yourself, and then go through surgery and chemotherapy at the same time with a smile on your face.
It's amazing. And the fact that it's not just keeping the secret, it's the fact that I don't know, somehow it makes him a real life superhero that, I mean, it puts him on another level. And I know, you know, time and distance and history will tell, but I just, it's so admirable to see someone of such great character who portrayed some greats. I mean, like James Brown and Jackie Robinson and Thurgood Marshall. And then let's talk about Black Panther, obviously, you know. And you were in you've cosplayed before, so you know, and you did Black Panther cosplay. You've done a film in Baku from the Mountains, which is a fan film. And I know it's weird, but you're one of the first people that I wanted to talk to about it because I know your connection to Black Panther and cosplaying and in Baku from the Mountains. And you said, I think you said, or I saw in one of your posts that you said people were asking how you were when the news broke. You know?
Yeah, people called and texted me from the time it broke, even today. And people were like, "Hey, people were like, hey, yo, I'm just sending you love. Just thinking about you." One of my friends, Teresa, she hit me up. I was checking on you. Like, are you okay? And people kept asking me that. And the truth was, I wasn't okay. Right. It was like Black Panther shifted my focus, my career, my passion into a whole nother direction that I never saw coming, and it just skyrocketed me. Because again, I didn't like 2018 was literally a year of true blessing, just from a film, not just from a film. Let me not say that. It's kind of watering it down. The amount of being a Black male, just kind of growing up, I don't know what it's like. I know from my aunts and uncles, even my dad, not having really a whole lot of role models to kind of look up to, especially on TV, but seeing a superhero that wasn't, because again, for the longest time, the only superheroes I had to look up to that were like Black males were like Blade, but he's a Black vampire. Yeah. No one's really like looking to give him a hug. Yes,
though Chadwick did give him props, you know, about him being the first African American superhero in Marvel.
Yeah, first in first R-rated movie as well from Marvel, and he had a Spawn. Spawn is unfortunately Spawn of the devil, and you know that works. And you know you have these different characters who are like they're Black Lightning, the different things that come from poverty, things of that nature. But this was the first character we had to look up to, who not only was he was multifaceted in 3 areas. He was a king, number 1. Number 2, he was a superhero. Number 3, he was T'Challa, the scientist, the genius, the brother, the film made you feel like you could be royalty. It made you feel like you could be more than what you were. It brought a sense of unity, and especially being able to the character I did was M'Baku, being able to embody that character and go through these conventions, even for the premiere. The premieres took me, you know, going to the premiere and having people go see the movie, come out the movie, and then see you outside the theater, and people lose their minds as if you were the character, which brought me so close. I wish I was in the film. I wish I had been in that film. And I've had friends who actually were extras in that film. But being able to cosplay and then people see the film and then see you and be like, it's not like you're like, oh, you're Andre cosplaying as M'Baku. They were just like, you're him. You're the guy. You're the guy.
You're the guy.
Yeah. And if that feeling I was feeling were breadcrumbs, I can imagine the bread loaf of what Chadwick Boseman was feeling after playing such an iconic character, bringing him to life. And keep in mind, Wesley Snipes actually was supposed to play Black Panther back in the 90s. When he first were actually putting that together, Wesley Snipes was actually trying to do it, but because of creative differences, they didn't go with it.
It didn't happen, but...
Right, exactly.
Well, and I'm kind of thankful because how things turned out, because he was great as Blade. Right. You know.
Yeah, I think things turned out exactly how they needed to happen, but the way Chadwick Boseman talked about Denzel, because
Oh
he
my god.
even said
Yeah,
he
I saw that speech where he said there'd be no Black Panther without Denzel Washington, and he
Mhm.
said, he said my generation, we stand on your shoulders, and because I don't know if a lot of people generally knew this, but he Denzel paid for his college,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
that is life changing to someone, especially a young cat like Chadwick, and he never forgot that. And some of his earlier roles, I saw an interview before we recorded today because I've been watching a lot of Chadwick Boseman material, obviously, and he was talking about how he had this TV show he was on, and I don't remember the TV show, but he was basically playing, and it was a while back, and it was this. He was the typical black man in the hospital, and he gets a gun out, and he's holding this woman hostage, and he's got, I guess, drug issues or whatever the situation is, and so had such a great performance within that role, but he had problems with that role. He wanted to do more roles, which eventually he did, like Black Panther, that
Right.
and such. But that particular role, he said he went in and he was a studio producer or whatever, executive or whatever was there, and he had his resume out, and he said, you did a fantastic job. We want to do more with your character, blah, blah, blah. Whatever you want, name it. And he said, well, I have three things I want to ask you about. And he says, first off, about the character, he says, where is my character's father? And the producer, whatever, said, well, he left when your character was younger. He's like, okay. He said, where's my mother? He said, well, of course she's on heroin. So you and your siblings were in foster care or whatever for this particular character. And he said, like, I don't know if it was and eventually the meeting ended, and the guy put his resume back on his desk or whatever and said, it was maybe a day later, maybe it was a week later, I don't know how long, but Chadwick's representative said to him, his agent called and said, they've decided to take the character in a different direction. And, so in telling that story, it's making the point of how far we've come, that he was talking about how stereotypical that was. And we're to the point now in 2020 where stereotypical isn't going to sell anymore. And it's not just that it won't sell, but a lot of people aren't going for that. And that's important. Roles like Black Panther, I mean, 42 with Jackie Robinson, he was a trailblazer in his time. Black Panther, T'Challa, obviously. Thurgood Marshall, my gosh, a legend. It's amazing. And when we even get into, I think it's called the one that's in pre-production, maybe post, I'm not sure. Yusaku is about an ancient. Help me out here. An ancient warrior.
He was a black slave who ended up in I believe feudal Japan, and
Okay.
he would go from being a slave to being trained to be one of the first black, I'll say, documented samurais to protect a feudal lord. I think there were other black samurais we don't know. Of course, this was thousands of years ago, but this particular individual was so iconic and so powerful and so good that not only did he impress his feudal lord, he protected his feudal lord for many years. It had a very unique story, but I don't want to tell the whole.
Right. Yeah, you don't want to give it all away, the movie away, but
it's a very unique story that's being told, and I think Chadwick Boseman was the perfect pick for that role. I'm very sad. I'm not sure how far they got or what they got done, but I think he would have done an amazing job. You know?
And as we're recording this is like August 30th, 2020. Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, which is completed, is going to be on Netflix. He plays Levi. I think I'm saying that right. He has they've pushed it back for some reason. I don't know why.
I think they honestly, it's a very emotional time. I think they want to just really wait until like the funerals and all. Like, there's a lot going on, right. So I'm pretty sure they just want to release it at a more proper time than a few days after his death.
I hadn't even thought until you mentioned it now about the funeral. I'm still in shock, as we all are, that he's gone. I can't imagine what the funeral's going to be like. I mean, it's going to be pretty. It's going to be pretty big. I can't say it's going to be pretty big, but I can see this being like a global thing where literally, if they have a funeral, people will be having their own tiny funerals across the world. Because again, until the funeral happens, like the funeral is the closing of everything. Right now it's fresh because he's not even in the ground yet. So you have to get his assets together. You have to get all the stuff together. Talks have to be done. Things have to be situated. And of course, I can't imagine how his coworkers feel. People who just recently worked with him, how they feel taking that news. I know Michael B. Jordan hasn't posted anything. Right. Winston Duke, who played in Baku, has not posted anything. Angela these guys, what do you say? What do you say? I mean, we've seen other people, Chris Evans, Captain America, Mark Ruffalo, say wonderful things, and you see, people grieve in different ways, and we need to understand and respect that.
Right.
And they're probably so beyond words. They can't, like you said, put it into words. Anything you say is not gonna, in your mind's not gonna be good enough to represent the life and the friendships. I know the lifelong friendships that Chadwick, through all these productions, and not just with the actual actors, the friendships, but with the crew and people he's interacted with. I mean, it is like just beyond, it's incomprehensible. I mean, I wanted to ask you this, and only you can say this, how it affects you. But to lose Kobe in 2020 as a black man in American, African American, and to lose Black Panther, T'Challa, Chadwick Boseman, who he was much more than, if people only see him as Black Panther, you're just seeing not even half of right. his the greatness of Chadwick Boseman. And I'm not trying to make him bigger in death than he was in life. He played very important roles, very important to the black community. And 2020 has been a brutal year for everyone of every color and every race, with the pandemic, with the racial tensions that we talked months ago about this, on an episode on Savannah on Film that we talked about. You were on the panel there, and we've talked before. But what does 2020 feel like to you? I mean, it's hard enough for me, but as a black man in America, an African American, how are you dealing with all this? How does it, to see icons, literal legends, in your life? And you're a little bit younger than I am, so I mean, these were probably more of your formative years. Maybe, is that fair to say? To an extent. I mean,
right. Yeah.
True heroes to you.
These are very. There are very few civil rights leaders.
John Lewis. I'm sorry, yeah. I did not mean to belittle his passing, because powerful, important figure. Also, for my grandmother, she grew up with Martin Luther King and just all these iconic people who were literally alive, and unfortunately they were taken away from us.
growing up having people like Kobe and having people like, um, Chadwick Boseman. These were guys, even though I'm 30, they were in their like early 40s. So technically, they weren't that far
Right.
in front of me.
They
And
could have been
were
your
growing,
older brother.
yeah, easy,
Yeah.
easy. Not old enough to be my dad, but
Right.
definitely old enough to be my older brother. And to see them, it was like, it was like, it was like watching Superman, right? And it was like, it's like, remember Superman dies. Remember the comic when he gets killed by Doomsday.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's
I have it.
it,
It's sitting on my shelf over there. I've watched the.
it's reality changing. Your reality has now changed. It's been flipped upside down. Because I didn't. If you would say, Andre, name people somebody's going to die, I would name people who are older.
Right,
Not
right.
not Kobe dying in a plane crash, not in a helicopter crash, not Chadwick Boseman dying from cancer. If you'd have told me back in 2019, and I would have put on a roster, I'd have lost.
Me too.
Yeah.
There's no reason I would have thought Chadwick Boseman would not be with us now.
Right. And especially with the anticipation of Black Panther 2 and all these other films coming out. And as a black, as a black male, it put things in perspective that one, life is short. Number two, 2020 is hard, but it's not.
I don't know if hard. We need a new word other than hard, difficult. It's
sucks.
beyond sucks. It's like you know what I mean. We need to create a new word for how horrific at times. Even though some good things have come in 2020, it's been a mixed bag. Creatively, for me, it's been a good time, but it's also been. I've had personal tragedies and lost people this year myself within my family and I feel I'm empathetic to a lot of things. I feel so much of the world's problems, and I can't imagine whole families wiped out by COVID. I can't imagine what that's like. I can't imagine what it's like to be a black man in America and to live in fear still. And we still haven't fixed it, and we're still having issues.
It's like we're living. Honestly, 2020 is like living through like multiple
realities
and history points. You have a virus that's spreading a pandemic. You have racial injustice happening. You have killings by police, and it's like so you're living through like the Watts riots mixed in with Spanish flu mixed in with
Rodney King and and other things beyond that, and it's almost Emmett Till to an extent.
You don't know, you don't really know. Honestly, it gets to a point. At one point, one day I woke up after hearing like so someone else got shot. This happened. I didn't feel dead inside. It's almost like I felt numb. It's almost like I had to feel numb just not to like kind of.
There's a PDS, post-traumatic stress syndrome to it also. I can imagine.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are going to need therapy or need it.
We all need therapy now.
In some way, and I don't want to make this just about
right.
myself as a black man, because even during 2020, I've been really blessed to be almost indirectly affected, and looking at thinking about Denzel, who Chadwick Boseman could have been his son. You know what I mean? Pretty much was his son.
Yeah.
And I remember when Michael Jackson died, Stevie Wonder, they're doing a concert. I don't know if it was Grammys or what it might have been. And Stevie Wonder walks on stage really quietly. He sits down at the piano. And the first thing he says is, "This is of course Stevie Wonder's blind." And he says, "This is a day I hope to never see." He said, because when he came up, he was in his 20s when Michael Jackson was like a little kid. So he's thinking, eventually I'm going to die and Michael's going to come up. And he said, "This is a day I wish I would never have saw." And to think about that in Denzel's perspective, this is a day I wish I'd never had to see, had to experience. And it's one thing when somebody who's younger than you passes away,
Right.
who's climbing up. It makes the difference. And of course, I had a lot of people call me yesterday and the day before, and they said, Andre, this right here, if this is not showing you something, how short life is, whatever you want to do in life, acting or whatever it may be, you need to be on it now. You
Right.
need to truly be on it. There's enough room, or I got time, or any of that stuff.
Every day of 2020, I feel like we owe 2019 an apology because
We didn't treat you good enough. We're so sorry.
But even in the worst darkness, and we have politicians on both sides painting how dark things are and how, and how terrible this country, the direction it's heading, and they're the only ones, obviously, that can save it in respective parties, and that's, another
Right.
conversation. But I'm one in the darkness to look for light, and I think 2020 is a year where we all had to stop what we were doing, quite literally, quarantine, Life said, okay, stop what you're doing. Stop with all your busy. I'm too busy for the family. I'm too busy working. I'm too busy doing this. Stop. Reevaluate. Rebuild. And I feel like if we can get through 2020, I feel like we're just going to get so much better. We're going to get closer as a nation. At least that's my hopes and prayers. But it takes everyone from every side, every single soul that's breathing to make sure we work together to bridge these gaps and to finally just say we're tired of the darkness. It's time for some light, for some enjoyment, for us to move forward. I mean, I feel like we're at a crux for our species. I mean, we are one. You cut us, we bleed the same color blood. We're the same. We all are. And not to sound too preachy or anything, but I 2020 just feels like this is time to do your homework. This is the reevaluation part. Get on your game, like you're saying. Get on your game and run it. And because you don't know when that plane crash is going to come and end your life, or cancer is going to pop up and you're going to have to deal with it, or the pandemic's going to get you, or who knows, Godzilla might show up next month or aliens might land. I don't know what 2020's got in store, but I feel like seriously we need to buckle down. This is the time to 2020 feels like it could be a renewal, and out of the darkness we'll all be that phoenix that rises.
I think out of the fire we're gonna all come out harder. But that also, there's some people I know right now, unfortunately, when 2020 ends, they'll still be back in 2019. All through 2020, they've made no strides. They've given up. They did a lot of things. And again, I get it. A lot of people don't have the mental capacity or the drive or even the health or the energy to do, to kind of work through these troubling times. But I didn't want 2020, even like
Right.
December 2020, November 2020, or even like the new year to come about. And
Sorry, I dropped my phone.
No, you're good.
I don't mean to disturb you there. I wasn't
good.
telling you to be quiet. Just somebody walked into the studio here. I just
No, you're good. You're good. I just didn't want to slow down the momentum. When it came down to getting work done and getting better, because I had no reason not to be better. But when you have things like when Kobe dying and having Chadwick Boseman passing away, you don't know when your time's up. And with that being the case, Chadwick Boseman left some very big shoes, not to fill, because no one's going to fill his shoes. His shoes are his. It puts in perspective for us all. I say, honestly, Chadwick Boseman touched a lot of African Americans, a lot of black people,
Right.
people of color. But he touched a lot of people, white, Asian, Italian. He touched a lot of people, and it really was like, whatever you're doing, whatever you want to do, especially if you don't have any terminal illness or any kind of sickness that's keeping you down, you should be every day
just grinding.
just grinding.
Doing
That
it.
doesn't mean you're working yourself to death. It means if you have 24 hours in a day, get your rest in, get your food in, spend time with your loved ones, and then guess what? Those other times, spend an hour writing your story, spend an hour studying. That's just an hour of the day. We spend probably 5 hours on our phones alone.
Right, doing nothing, scrolling, or Netflix. What's next? Or whatever streaming service. But I do want to add one thing though. I am totally on board with what you're saying, and I agree with you. But we also need to take care of ourselves mentally, because this has been traumatic. It has been extremely traumatic situation, and we have to take care of our mental health collectively, individually. If you need to seek help, if you need a counselor, get one. Get a good friend, a friend you trust, a friend that's not going to stab you in the back, a friend that's not going to put your business out there, a friend like Chadwick Boseman had.
Right.
That will keep your secret, that you can tell them, that you can confide in. Find that individual or that group of friends that you know love you in spite of your faults. Mm-hmm. Find that group and talk to them. Even if it's a paid professional, because this year has been very traumatic, and to grow, sometimes you have to look into that darkness. You have to look into that sadness, that anxiety, that depression, that PTSD that we're all dealing with, whether we realize it or not. And I really believe you can find that goodness, and you can put these things in perspective that are clouding your creativity. Because I know when the pandemic started, I couldn't create for a while. And I always feel like I need to be creating something. I mean, I was researching things, and I've learned some different things. So I've gained some skills I didn't have in 2019. And so I'm calling 2020 a success in spite of everything, in spite of losing loved ones, in spite of, people I admire passing away, and other traumatic things. And I just really want to encourage everyone to just keep pushing, but give yourself that release, that air valve release, kind of, whatever analogy I'm looking for here. But give yourself that time to kind of decompress and to evaluate and learn.
Right. I think for a lot of people, the decompression part, I think that's with everything going on, and then you have COVID, it's keeping everyone kind of like away from each other.
Stop, go, stop, go, stop, go. It's like mask, no mask, yes, no, maybe.
Exactly. Wear a mask outside.
Wear your mask. Do it. I'm sorry, and I don't mean to get political. Wear your mask, not for yourself so much, but for others. Be out of respect for them and their grandparents and young people that are getting sick. Do it. It's the right thing to do.
Yeah, during this time period, wearing your mask is, people are like, it doesn't keep you from getting COVID. No, it doesn't keep you from getting COVID. It keeps, if you have COVID, from it spreading to other people. Just like the whole social
Nothing is perfect, but it is better than nothing. And it's the closest thing that we know now that we can do. And it's a pain. Yeah, like I've got a beard. It itches. I can't stand it, but
it fogs up your glasses, I'm sure, sometimes.
All the time. And, but I do it because it takes care of others, and I want to take care of my health. I want to be around, there's no secret. Anybody that knows me, I'm a big Michael Jackson fan, in spite of whatever his personal life and whatever was. I respect the artistry, and I've said this before. That's not a secret. One of my friends, we talked about before recording, one of my friends couldn't understand when Michael Jackson passed that I was posting all this Michael Jackson videos and MJ forever hashtags and all this stuff. And he's like, quit with the hashtags. And I'm like, I'm going to do what I want. I still listen to his music. In fact, Spike Lee, just because yesterday, the 29th of August, was Michael Jackson, would have been his birthday. And I forgot how many years old he would have been. It might have been 60. I don't know how long he passed in 09, so I'm not going to do the math. So
so he died.
So he'd be 61. Is that right?
I think he'd been around 61. So was that 11 years ago?
I think that was 11 years ago because it was 2009.
Yeah,
Which is crazy, to think that, we're 2020 at this point, but it's like, but I respect the artistry. That was someone who he couldn't sleep because he was creating in his sleep,
Right.
That's the kind of dedication we're talking about. Prince. I never thought Prince wouldn't be around. I grew up with these people. I figured at one point, these greats are going to pass on, but it's much too soon. They had so much.
Yeah, you guys were young. When Michael Jackson died, he was young. He was in his 50s.
He was 50. Yeah, he was 50 when he died. I'm 50 this year. I had a COVID birthday party via Zoom, and it was great. But I'd tell you, 2021, I'm going to make up for it. It's going to be a great big party, I hope. That's what I hope and pray. But
traveling's gonna be huge in 2021.
Yeah, once we get a vaccine, once we get past this, and let's learn and let's move on and let's just be nicer to each other. That's like my one wish. I just wish we would be nicer to each other. Let's look at the other person before we pull a trigger. Let's look at the other person before we pull the trigger in our mind of thought about that person. Let's try to put ourselves in every situation, even within our families, let's give each other that benefit of the doubt sometime. Let's have those conversations. Life is too short to waste on toxic people. Life is too short to just waste. I mean, we've got to just pull together. And I don't know, maybe because it's a Sunday and I don't usually record on Sundays, and I'm in a very preachy kind of mood today. I don't know what it is, but I just feel alive. I want us to be alive.
What you're saying makes a lot of sense, because again, we got here together. We want to get through everything that's ever happened in the world. We did it together. We didn't do it alone. We did it together as a unit, whether we agreed or not. And that's the whole thing. Let's agree to disagree. If you like pineapple on pizza, and I don't, which I actually love pineapple on pizza.
I love pineapple on pizza. That makes me crazy, but I love it. I love it.
Like
I want some now.
Whether someone likes sushi or they don't, whether someone's gay, straight, trans, Muslim, Baptist, non-denominational, Catholic, redhead, brunette, green eyes, blue eyes, the whole point is we're here on this planet, breathing the same air, bleeding the same blood, who have some of the same interest, and some people have no interest at all.
Right.
Live and let live. Why is that so hard to do? That someone's hatred is so great that your existence, they're fighting. Like, I thought this as a kid. I was a teenager. I was 18. I was like, someone is fighting so I don't live. And I remember sitting in my room being like, there's someone out there who doesn't want me to be alive because of what I look like. And I was like, that's some strong hate. That's some strong hatred. Don't even know me. Don't know me. But
and they didn't come out of their mother thinking that. They were taught that.
It's all taught behavior that was practice and repetition.
Right.
Practice.
So if we can practice hatred that way, why can't we practice love that way?
Yeah, having unconditional love. Like, again, I have friends who were gay. Love them to death. See them on the street, I might jump on their back. Some of the greatest people. And guess what? Our lifestyles are very, very different. Mm-hmm. Why does me living a certain lifestyle and them living a certain different lifestyle, should I hate them or not be their friend? I don't have to like what they do. I don't have to support what they do. I love you because you are you and you're my friend.
Right.
And if you want,
you're nice to me, I'm nice to you.
Treat people how you want to be treated. One of the biggest golden rules of all times is treat people how you want to be treated. If you are walking into a store, step aside, open the door for somebody else.
Yeah, and if you're blessed enough to treat people even better than they treat you,
right,
then that's all the better for your soul. And it's not. There's a thing about opening that door for someone, or carrying that bag of groceries for someone that can't make it, giving a ride to somebody from point A to point B, just carrying a gas can down the street because their truck ran out. But they might not look like you, so you might not stop because they could be this or that. We got to get over that.
Yeah, the thing about that is, I had a conversation with my dad, and I remember we were thinking what the song was. What was that Christmas song? Santa Claus is coming to town. Mm-hmm. And there's a line that says, "So be good for goodness sake. Be good for the sake of being good. Don't be good for gifts. Don't be good for praise. Don't be good to get something. Be good for the sake of goodness." And that's the unfortunate thing some people lack. Is a lot of people are good because even the Bible or not, it's said in the Bible. All like being good, unfortunately, being good is subjective. I could easily be nice to you, but be mean to my dog. I can easily be nice to you, but be evil to my mom. Goodness is subjective. Being good for goodness sake is sometimes the main thing that we're missing.
And that's our thoughts too. Mm-hmm. I can be nice to you, but right now I could be having these terrible thoughts about you. That doesn't absolve me of the fact that my intentions may not be great, or kind. Right. And here's something that's totally kind of related but unrelated. When we were growing up, we didn't have a fireplace. So I remember all the Christmas songs and everything. We had like a heater, but there was like a smokestack, but it really wasn't like there was no fireplace. So I was a little scared as a kid. So my parents always, locked up the house at night. That's just what you do, and all that. And it used to terrify me that a man would come down a chimney that we didn't have and could get in the house even though the house was locked. Mm-hmm. Some old white dude was going to come there and bring me presents, but I guess I thought too much as I got older. I'm like, how does that make sense? It's magic. It's the magic of Christmas, but I don't know. I'm sorry I said that, but it's just something I thought of. But are there any final thoughts? Because we've got to end, and I know you got places to be, and thank you for making time to be here today. I really appreciate you.
Honestly, Ed, thank you, because again, with your platform, you did not have to have me on here. You could have talked to anyone else.
You were the first person I've thought of. You're really, really, and it's not just because of the cosplay and M'Baku from the mountains, but you were like the first person I thought of that I wanted to have a conversation with, and I was talking it over. I was kind of I was falling down that rabbit hole of just being stunned and maybe a little bit of sadness and depression over just shocked about Chadwick Boseman passing. And I thought about you and I said, as much as this affects me, I know your love for Black Panther and for what Chadwick Boseman represents and what that film represented to the African American community. I knew you would have a perspective on it that maybe I couldn't even grasp, and I thank you because I think you so eloquently have gone above and beyond explaining the importance of that, and I thank you for being here. And that's not just words I'm saying, and I'm not saying it for clicks or thumbs up and all that good stuff, but I just, it's from the heart, because this world's, I believe in the good, and I believe in the ultimate good, that things are always going to be better. Mm-hmm. In the darkest times. I think I pull a lot of some of my thoughts out of film. I love film. If you could see, I finally hung up a bunch of stuff in the studio. One day I'll do a studio tour here. It's nothing fancy, but it's, what works for me. But it's always darkest before the dawn, Harvey Dent said in The Dark Knight. And I think that's so true. 2020, it's darkest before the dawn, and the dawn is coming, as he said. And thank you for being a part of this very special episode of the podcast, and it means the world. And I wish you all the best. and I don't know what else to say, but thank you. And we just move forward from this, and I just pray we don't have any more surprises. I thought 2020 was done. We unfortunately this past week had a hurricane devastate parts of Louisiana, and guess what? That's if unless you watch the Weather Channel, you don't know about the massive destruction that's going on there, or the Category 4 hitting and devastating parts of Louisiana there, which is historically kind of poor comparatively to some parts of the nation. Not saying it completely is, but our thoughts, hopes, and prayers here go out to everybody who suffered, people that their lives have been irrevocably changed, and this whole year has been that way. But it just keeps packing on, and we got just persevere, people. We can do this, and we're going to get past this. Even no matter how the election turns out, it's going to be the world that we want to create, and we've got to be on point with that.
Yeah, one person does not change the world. They can encourage it, they can discourage it, but they can't change it. Us as a people, whether you are Democrat, Republican, whatever you side you choose to stand on, as long as you want the best for everyone, no matter their political view, religious view, or anything, that's the biggest thing that should matter. I want to tell people to definitely stay ready. Don't get caught slipping, because a lot of people are. Stay safe. Check on yourself. Check on your loved ones. Make sure that you're doing a mental check for yourself and for other people as well. Take that time to just decompress and get yourself out there. Because guess what? Unfortunately, we're not made out of metal. We're made out of flesh and bone that can break. And unfortunately, your mind is one of the main things that you can't really repair the best way. So taking more precaution is always the best thing. To everyone who is mourning the loss of a loved one, or even people who are mourning Chadwick Boseman's death, our hearts go out to you. Your prayers go out to you, and I pray that hopefully in 2021 we can all come together under better circumstances to celebrate his life and the things that he's done. And I also pray that that his death, with his death, brings purpose for people, and reassurity, and that what you're doing is what you need to do, especially as an artist, whether you're an artist of color, a woman, or even you're just an artist in general, that his death inspired his life inspired you, and that his death kind of gave you that launching point to know, hey, you're doing the right thing, and that guess what? Time belongs to no one. You don't have any time. Your time you have is a privilege, not a right. And that your day could be today, it could be tomorrow, or it could be next year. And just live life to the best of your ability.
I don't know any better way to end it than that. And thank you once again. Shameless plugs I have to put in here. Please check out the podcast Geek Homeworld here. I'm your host, Ed Ciucevich here, and this has been Andre L. Johnson. You can check out Mbobku from the Mountains, his film there. Look him up. You're a fantastic photographer. You've been doing a lot. Follow you on social media, obviously. Very talented individual. I haven't listed all of your talents. You have many. And it's a privilege to have you back and to have you on this platform. And everybody take care of yourselves. And check out, if you will, our Twitter account. We're at Geek Homeworld. We're also on Facebook. If you want to go over there and like the page and follow, that's Geek Homeworld on Facebook. And we're also on YouTube. If you want to subscribe to the channel, you'll see this video there, and you'll be able to keep up with our new content. And this is going to conclude, as I play the outro, another episode of the Geek Homeworld podcast with myself and Andre L. Johnson. Thank you, Andre, and goodbye, everybody.
Thank you, Ed. Thank you.
All right. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Geek Homeworld with your host, Savage Tech Man. You can find us on Libsyn, Google+, follow and interact with us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, listen to us on iTunes and leave a review, subscribe to us on YouTube, read our thoughts on Blogger. See you again on the Geek Homeworld.